despite my massive love of musicals, I didn't think I'd like The King and I too much. So I kept putting it off. And finally I watched it and realised I could not have been more wrong. It's an absolutely splendid, beautiful film that I really kind of grew to love very quickly. I haven't seen the stage version, so I can't compare it, but the film was released in 1956, directed by Walter Lang, with a screenplay by Ernest Lehman based on the book by Oscar Hammerstein II. And I didn't really know too many of the cast, so I wasn't really drawn to it because of the cast, which I often am with musicals, and I didn't really recognise many of the songs. So for me, there was nothing necessarily specific to make this appeal to me, but I just heard a lot of good things about it. And our two main protagonists are pretty brilliant. Deborah Kerr plays Anna, who is a widow who goes to work as a live-in governess for the children of the King of Siam. And she's looking after all of these children, and she's I'm kind of getting Mary Poppins vibes here. Not in the magical sense, but in her cheery disposition and the way that she treats these children and speaks to them. I feel like she was born for that role as a governess, and Deborah Kerr plays her fantastically. Granted, I had no idea of what I would expect from this character. As I said, I haven't seen it on the stage, so I didn't have a preconceived notion of what I wanted from Anna as a character. But I'm glad that this is the vision I now have in my head, and just hopefully when I ever do see it on stage, the character on stage will live up to that. Yul Brynner plays the King of Siam, and he's great. There's something about his facial expressions. He's a very facially expressive actor, very articulate expressions, and he did a fantastic job. Very, very brilliant actor, and I think on screen, Kerr and Brynner work really well together. They have a great on-screen chemistry, and I love their character development together. It was not what I expected. It was quite surprising and unexpected, and that worked really well. And there are some bits in this which may not live up to... Well, I guess there are some things that could be hailed as racist, but it's also not, because they do put on a play of Uncle Tom's Cabin. And, well, I won't say any more about that. Uncle Tom's Cabin is a very interesting anti-slavery novel by Beecher Stowe. So it's got some kind of racist, or I guess anti-racism undertones that can be analysed. But for me, I didn't really want to look into that. I was more interested in the characters and how they lived with one another and how they interacted. So that's where I focused. In terms of the music, honestly, I didn't think it was that memorable, which is weird because as a musical fan, I tend to prefer musicals with brilliant music. But for me, the music was kind of secondary, which is a bit unexpected. Maybe with a second, third, fourth watch, I'll begin to fall in love with certain songs more and explore them more. But for me, the music was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I just didn't find myself singing any after I'd watched it. It's a very well received film. It won 5 Oscars. It won the Best Actor in a Leading Role, Best Art Direction, Best Costume Design. I mean, Anna's pink dress, that infamous dress, is ridiculous. It's so beautiful. It's insane. Best Sound Recording, Best Music, and it was nominated for Best Picture. It didn't win. I don't think the competition was very tough. It was up against 10 Commandments, Giant, Friendly Persuasion, and Around the World in 80 Days. I think in hindsight, The King and I would have done better, but for whatever reason, 80 Days did win. That doesn't detract from how incredible this film is. It really is a beautifully filmed, brilliantly directed, wonderfully scripted, decently musicaled. It's not a word, but beautifully costumed, very well acted film. I'm glad I took the plunge and watched it because I did thoroughly enjoy it. And if you're a musical fan or if you're a film fan, it's definitely one that I recommend.